Case opened. Case file. Number 152. Subject: the over-prepared spectator file. Type: behavioral anomaly / cognitive hoarding. The evidence is stored quietly, tucked away in the digital architecture of millions of modern lives. A software engineer saves 43 tutorials on a programming language they have never once compiled. A writer hoards online masterclasses on plot structure, but hasn't opened a blank document in 6 months. A fitness enthusiast bookmarks hundreds of precise nutritional breakdowns and specialized workout regimes while remaining completely sedentary on the couch. Our investigation begins not with a physical crime scene, but with a digital footprint: the Watch Later playlist, the bookmarked folders, the pristine, unread stacks of non-fiction on the nightstand. Globally, the consumption of instructional data, online courses, and educational content has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yet, a glaring anomaly detected by behavioral researchers reveals a disturbing pattern. The completion rate for massive open online courses sits below 10%. Even fewer consumers ever transition that data into real-world execution. The question is no longer whether humans want to learn. The question is, why has the human mind substituted the acquisition of information for the act of doing? Who or what is manufacturing the illusion of progress? Phase 1. The crime scene. To understand the mechanics of this behavior, investigators must first examine the psychological profile of the subject. This is not the classic profile of laziness or apathy. In fact, the over-prepared spectator is highly motivated, deeply anxious about their future, and possesses an intense desire to improve. That is what makes the crime scene so confounding. The energy required to find, categorize, and purchase these assets is immense. Observed under close analysis, a distinct pattern emerges. The subject encounters a problem or an ambition, for example, wanting to build a business. Instead of taking a messy, unpredictable real-world action, they initiate a highly structured, defensive maneuver. They buy a course. Once the data is secured, an immediate sense of relief washes over them. For a brief window, the anxiety of not knowing what to do vanishes. But months pass, the folders remain unclicked, and the business is never launched. The primary suspect appears to be a systemic breakdown between information processing and motor execution. But why does the brain prefer the preparation over the performance? Phase 2. The suspects. To isolate the variable driving this behavior, we must cross-examine the primary mechanisms of human motivation. Suspect A. The dopamine counterfeit. The first suspect is the brain's internal reward system. Neurobiological evidence suggests that dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for anticipation and motivation, does not care if a task is actually finished. It fires during the pursuit. When a subject purchases a masterclass or saves a highly complex how-to infographic, the brain experiences a premature spike of satisfaction. It mistakes the acquisition of the map for the completion of the journey. Suspect B. The perfectionist procrastination shield. The second suspect is a psychological defense mechanism, hidden behind high standards. Real-world execution is dangerous. It carries the immediate risk of failure, bad feedback, and ego damage. Preparation, however, is perfectly safe. By remaining in a perpetual state of learning, the subject constructs an airtight alibi. I'm not failing. I am simply getting ready. Suspect C. Cognitive overload and option paralysis. The final suspect is the environment itself. Humans are currently exposed to more instructional data in a single day than a 19th century scholar encountered in a lifetime. When a subject attempts to execute a task, they are instantly confronted by thousands of conflicting methodologies. Confronted by this hypersaturation, the executive function of the brain encounters a severe anomaly. It freezes. Phase 3. The evidence. To determine which suspect holds the ultimate responsibility, we must look at how the human brain evolved to handle information, witness report, anthropological observation. Long before the democratization of data, human survival depended on physical risk. If a prehistoric human learned how to build a fire or sharpen a spear, the information was immediately tested by environmental pressures. Information without immediate application was a luxury that did not exist. The brain evolved to treat information as a direct tool for immediate survival. But the modern environment has detached data from survival. Look at this behavioral study conducted on learning environments. The evidence points toward a severe evolutionary mismatch. When a subject saves a tutorial, suspect A, the dopamine counterfeit, tricks the mind into feeling capable. However, when the subject actually sits down to execute, suspect B, the shield, detects the threat of failure. Real execution requires embracing the discomfort of being bad at something. To avoid that emotional discomfort, the mind retreats back to the safety of information gathering. The case took an unexpected turn when investigators realized that the over-prepared spectator is not trying to learn. They're trying to manage their anxiety. Phase 4. The breakthrough. The breakthrough, in this case, occurred when investigators analyzed the difference between action and motion. Investigation notes indicate that these two states look identical from the outside, but they have completely opposite psychological outcomes. Motion is reading about a topic, planning, organizing, and strategizing. It feels like work, but it will never, on its own, produce a result. Action is the specific behavior that yields a concrete outcome. Writing a page, hitting record, making a sales call, typing a line of code. The mechanism behind the illusion of progress is now fully exposed. The human mind utilizes motion to bypass the emotional friction required for action. By spending hours researching the absolute best way to start, the spectator convinces themselves they're working hard. In reality, they're engaging in a highly sophisticated form of avoidance. They're hiding inside an endless loop of preparation because as long as they are preparing, they never have to face the terrifying verdict of reality. Phase 5. Case closure. Case closed. The investigation has revealed no lack of intellect, no shortage of ambition, and no genuine deficit of discipline. The over-prepared spectator is caught in a trap designed by an environment that offers infinite data with zero forced execution. The mind, seeking to protect its identity from the pain of failure, converts information into a security blanket. It builds a digital fortress of bookmarks and unread books to hide the terrifying truth that 5 minutes of messy, imperfect action will always teach the human brain more than 500 hours of passive consumption. The illusion of progress is an elegant defense mechanism. It allows a person to feel like they are moving forward while staying completely still. But as the file is closed on this anomaly, an unresolved question remains for the subject observing this report. If you look through your own archives, your own bookmark tabs, and your own saved files, how much of your life are you actually living, and how much of it are you simply researching?